going to pick a resolution. Now, personally, I stream 1920 by 1080p on both my base canvas and my output. The difference between these two settings is essentially base canvas is your preview window size inside OBS or Streamlabs, and the output is what your final video size is going to be when it goes to your stream. The two main resolutions you'll pick between are 1920 by 1080 or 1280 by 720. These days, 1080p tends to be the standard, but if you're on a low-end computer, 720p will be a better option for you. So if you find your OBS struggling later thanks to the stats panel and task manager, you can come back here and drop the output to 720p. That way you're scaling 1080 down to 720 for a lower resolution, but not terrible quality. Below that is our FPS or frames per second. You'll set this to either 30 or 60 most of the time. However, if you're, say, Australian like myself, European, or another country that uses what's called PAL, you might want your FPS to be set to 25 or 50 depending on where you're sending the footage. I'm in Australia and still use 30 to 60 because it doesn't matter most of the time anymore, as it's all going to YouTube streams or Twitch streams. With that, we're moving on to our output. Personally, I use advanced mode, but if you're experiencing lag, you can solve all of this with just the simple settings. So if we're doing this in the simplest form, let's start with bitrate. This will determine most of your stream's quality. There is a link in the description to an article by Twitch and another by YouTube to show you bitrate settings for different resolutions. Personally, if you're doing a fast action gameplay on Twitch, I recommend 720p output and between 4500 to 6000 bitrate. If the gameplay is slower and lacks a lot of movement, then 1080p and 6000 bitrate will work just as well. Twitch bitrate is technically soft capped at 6000 and hard capped at 8000. 1000 bits is 1 megabit, so you need an upload speed that can handle the bitrate you set plus wiggle room. So for 6000 bitrate, around 10 to 12 megabits to stream at the soft cap safely. If you're not sure what your upload speed is, go to speedtest.net, link in the description, and click test. As long as this comes up saying you have 10 to 12 steady, you should be okay. For a YouTube stream, you're going to want a much higher bitrate than Twitch, both because YouTube has better technology behind it, so you'll have better quality, but also because it transcodes every stream. This means you'll need a higher bitrate to make it look nice. But this is a good thing because your viewers can watch at lower resolutions no matter what size of a creator you are. Twitch will only let big creators have transcoding, whereas YouTube gives it to everyone. For 1080p 60 frames per second, I'd recommend 12,000 bitrate, and 720p 60 FPS, I'd recommend 7,000 to 8,000 bitrate. But again, your own internet speed and stability will control this, so keep an eye on dropped frames and use the fact sheets in the description as a further guide. Now, you won't need to touch audio bitrate most likely, so we'll keep moving. Now, for encoder, this used to be so simple, but it's gotten a lot more confusing as more graphics cards have become decent and OBS has added more options to itself. So I'll try to keep it simple for you by focusing just on 3: NVENC H.264, X.264, and AV1. To make this straightforward, if you're using any NVIDIA card past the GTX 600, which was released in 2012, so likely any NVIDIA card being used on a semi-new PC, you're going to pick NVENC H.264. This means you're using a special chip on the graphics card to encode the footage. This chip is separate and just used solely for encoding and decoding, so it won't affect your gameplay performance. And if you're using a graphics card from before that, you'll likely use X264, which will be using your CPU to encode and decode. Finally, AV1 is a newer encoder, and I'll be honest, I am still learning the best case for using it, and I'll link directly a video in the description by EposVox, who has done extensive testing if you want a deep dive. Now, if you're using an AMD card instead of a NVIDIA card, there will be AMD encoders here instead of NVIDIA, obviously. So pick those if you want to encode on your AMD GPU. Encoder preset is below this. If your PC can handle it, you can set this to be best quality and then use the stats panel to see if it's too intense for your CPU or GPU and lower it until you see the issues resolved. That is all the simple settings done, but we need to turn off the dreaded dynamic bitrate, the worst setting in the world, so stick around still while I quickly cover some other advanced settings for you. If you decide to use advanced settings because you're an overconfident fool, a lot of this will look exactly the same as simple and work exactly the same as well. The key difference to note here is that you'll be given access to a different rate control setting. But as a streamer, you have to leave this on CBR because Twitch doesn't play nice with other rate controllers. The other difference is it gives you access to the Twitch VOD track, which despite what you think doesn't protect you from copyright strikes, and it just overcomplicates things, so don't use it. The two articles I linked about bitrate in the description actually cover the advanced settings recommended as well. But I hope most of you will stick to simple, especially if you're struggling with lag. So before I show you how to turn off dynamic bitrate, let's quickly show you how to run a test stream to Twitch or YouTube, and how to test and select which Twitch server is the best for you, because this is actually something you can manually pick. First, to run a test stream on Twitch, it is pretty simple. Open OBS, go to settings, go to stream, and click enable bandwidth test mode, click apply, and then go live as normal. Open up a game, chat, talk, test alerts, do everything that you would do in a normal stream, but make sure you keep the stats panel open and also your task
perfect killing machine, I always never say. Loadout refreshed. Come on in and shoot some things. Try some